very tough situation. A very tough, really tough situation. This is about domestic violence. It's about domestic violence is when someone hits you, someone says rude things to you, someone who threatens you. So we're going to talk about domestic violence. It may be a really hard subject to talk about, but we need to start letting the domestic violence just stop. Domestic violence is when either he or she beats up their partner, their married relationship, or I don't know. But there's a lot of domestic violence in the United States. So dudes, we need to lead in ending violence against women. Comedian Dean Obelia explains why men need to get real instead of defensive about the deadly toll of domestic disputes. So let's see. My mouth fell open in disbelief the first time I heard the statistics. The NYPD receives an average of 700 calls a day from women seeking help in a domestic violence incident. I can't tell you why I wasn't aware of the epidemic of violence against women in our country until that 2013 meeting with Breakthrough, a global humane rights organization. After all, I consider myself a pretty well-informed guy. I read the newspaper every day. I'm on every social media platform imaginable. No, not Tinder, but almost everything else. Yet I was obvious of how many women were suffering, or worse, killed on a daily basis by men in the United States. So, and I know I'm not alone in that. After that meeting, I looked up the statistics because I had to check for myself. I am a former trial lawyer, so I'm still as suspicious as ever. When people tell me they're so-called facts, sure enough, the Breakthrough representatives was correct. As I have since learned, in New York City alone, police responded to more than 260,000 domestic violence calls in 2012. That's once every 2 minutes. It gets worse from there, if that's possible. On average, 3 women are killed every single day in our country by a boyfriend, husband, or ex. When you add it up, more women are killed in the United States by domestic violence. 11,766 died between the 2001 terror attacks and June 2012. In that same period, 6,488 people died. When you combine the deaths in the 9/11 attacks and soldiers' death in Iraq and Afghanistan, I assume that if the rest of my male friends, the real ones and those on social media, heard about these numbers, they too would be motivated to do something about it. What I never guessed was that many of them, not all, but more than I expected, would come defensive when I raised the issue. Consequently, they would become angry, saying things like, "Tell it to the guys hitting women." I was shocked as I learned many men take any discussion of the issue as an accusation. They felt I was interfering, that they had committed this despicable act. Others would not get angry, but would become dismissive of the seriousness of the issue with comments like, "Well, it's not bad as it used to be," or "You do know that men are victims of domestic violence by women." Now, from a purely statistician point of view, those last 2 comments are correct. The rate of domestic violence, along with most violent crimes, has dropped since the 1990s. However, people working on the front lines helping victims of domestic violence have not seen a decline in cases they are handling. To them and to the women suffering, it's as bad as ever. Oh my God, this is a long article, but I can handle it. True, not all victims are domestic violence. Not all victims of domestic violence are women. However, 85% are men and women and are clearly bearing the brunt of the violence. At this point, I started to think about what can I do using my skill set to raise awareness about this topic in a way that would make my fellow men not become defensive. My skills consist of telling jokes or suing people, so I went with comedy. Last year, I worked with Breakthrough to produce a comedy benefit that we hoped would reach people who would never attend a lecture on violence against women. Thankfully, that show sold out. So we are at it again this year with an even bigger show that will be taking place in New York City on August 19th. The show is called Dudes Against Violence Against Women. It features a great lineup of male comedians and a hilarious female. Let me see. Why all the comedians men? Well, to be blunt, men need to be the ones taking the lead on the issue. The goal of the show is to speak a conversation dude to dude. If you see something you suspect is domestic violence, don't be silent. Instead, talk to those involved, especially the guy. If there's a problem, encourage him to seek help. There are myriad organizations out there that want to help. Maybe we can't have an immediate impact on issues like reducing the big money in politics or stopping Donald Trump from saying Iceland things, but we can have an impact on violence against women in a way that could save someone's life. So what do you say, my fellow dudes? Isn't it time we stand together to end violence against women? I think that that's a great idea because a lot of women get abused by men. I do not like the situation, but if I was a man, I would never abuse a woman like that. I think it's ridiculous. So this is for all the guys, because when I ever hear that someone has been domestic violence by somebody, it like breaks my heart, because when you're in a domestic violence relationship, you don't know what to do. You don't know who to talk to, because they might tell your husband, your boyfriend, your ex, something, your fiance. It's just it's very hard to like see it. But domestic violence is very, very, very serious. It teaches you about who to trust, who to not trust, and women get killed by this, which I think is really sad. It really is sad. But we really need to end domestic violence. Domestic violence is seriously, it's just so sad to see these women die because of the man, or woman, I don't know. Because, I don't know. I mean, I feel so bad. I literally do, because women these days are getting hurt because of what they say or do. So I want to stop domestic violence. I want to stop right now. So take the pledge at takeapart.com. Go on the topic of domestic violence. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we will chat later. Bye.